Welcome to Financial Issues, where we help you steward faithfully by honoring God with your investments. Now listen in as we give you the practical tools and advice you need to become a biblically responsible investor.
This is Financial Issues, where we help you defund darkness and fund the light by investing with biblical integrity. Welcome, folks, to our show. Seth here with your host, Mark Manila. Mark, good morning to you, brother.
Good morning, Seth, and good morning to all you joining us.
Great to be here today. Hey, I hope you'll give us a call today, folks. Phones are open. The number is 610-363-1110. We want to hear from you if you've got questions about your portfolio, the markets, investing, basic money principles, politics, whatever's going on, the biblical worldview. We want to talk to you about it. Give us a call, 610-363-1110. Mark, as we prepare for liftoff today, you'll see why that was brilliant. It was here's why. Another one of Elon Musk's babies is preparing for liftoff as we speak. It's going public. So we'll discuss that briefly here, Mark. I'm excited for that. First and foremost, though, the markets Monday, they were pretty calm yesterday, truthfully, all things considered, Mark. It looked like investors were weighing out the legitimate possibility of a ceasefire in the war in the Middle East. Monday's bell
haven't heard that before.
Yeah, exactly right. It's like, okay, could this be the day? Monday saw the Dow Jones, S&P, and the NASDAQ all right around 1/3 to 0.5% positive. Same with the Russell 2000. Now, Mark, they've swung back in the other direction. So the pre-market's not feeling quite as confident. They're, I guess, just afraid of the deadline that Trump has set about attacking some of the different energy sites and different things like that, Mark. But Mark, as we've been seeing all of this happening, I find it fascinating. You had mentioned to me off air, actually, that we're starting to see what seems like a turn of course in the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. Is that true?
Yeah, both the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ have had a reversal and are now in a bullish mode as far as the bullish percentage, meaning that they've risen 6%. The bullish percent, not the price of the index, but the bullish percent, meaning how many stocks that are on a buy signal on each of these indexes have risen from 6% from their bottom of this pullback that we saw. So that's a very good sign. It's showing that we're headed in the right direction again. And, that's a good thing. And, maybe this morning where the futures are down a little bit, but they're not down much, which is a good sign. So let's see where it goes. This could be a confirmation day as many analysts start talking about, are we on a turnaround or not again?
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. One of the things that I was just wondering as you were talking there, Mark, is you had mentioned, what was the phrase, a bullish trend? So we're not in a bull market yet, but it's a bullish direction. Is that what I'm understanding?
Oh, we're still in a bull market.
Okay. Yeah.
We haven't left the bull market. Even with the pullback, we didn't leave the bull market. We really didn't have a correction in the market yet. We haven't gone into a bear market or anything like that. You remember the different definitions we covered last week. A pullback is less than 10%, between 5 and 10%. Between 0 and 5%, that's just normal trading noise. Above 10%, we call it a correction. And really, a crash is when it drops 20% in a very short period of time. A bear market is when we see a longer period of time of the markets cascading down, slowly and continuing down. And then the bull market starts when we start recovering from that and actually come back to it and recover up to it. So the markets are still a strong market. In fact, I'm very impressed with this market. I know it sounds weird, but if you watch the markets over the years, everything, including the kitchen sink, has been thrown at this market this year.
Yeah.
And it still continues to grow. So I'm pretty impressed with that. Even with the little exhale that we had of 4 to 7% on the S&P and the NASDAQ. And maybe at its worst, for a moment it touched down at around -9%. But we've really seen a very sturdy and determined market this year so far. And last night I was working on some notes for our partner call coming up this Thursday, and it hit me. Imagine what the markets would have done if there hadn't been a war, if there hadn't been a democratic government shutdown for no reason, if there hadn't been all this political angst, if there hasn't, imagine what these markets would have done.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Would have been awesome.
That's, we'll never know, but considering that when we started the year, everything was going in the right directions. We had real wage growth growing. We had the deficit coming down. We had all this wonderful stuff happening. And then we have a government shutdown.
Yeah.
Which is really the silliest thing. Why would you want to hurt our country like that? Come on.
Yeah.
You were voted in by us, the citizens. Get off your butts. Do something good for our country.
Hopefully every single politician is listening to that, Mark, because...
Well, they all watch us, don't they?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They love us. We're their favorite show.
Just making sure.
That's right. 610-363-1110. Mark, I love it. One of the things that I think makes me encouraged about this market, too, is that with this, whatever it'll end up being, if it's a blip on the screen, a big pullback, and there's no telling, it could still go down as well. But I like the fact that we're in a market that is a real market. It's not just always going up, overvalued, but there's opportunity to buy in. You had mentioned, Mark, in these previous weeks, those blue light specials for us to look out for. That's a good thing. Yeah, there's a couple that if you're a partner, you can go in and you probably got the alert last night or this morning, buy alerts. We put a couple of things on the buy list, took one off that, I remember when we were talking about pullbacks, how the number one thing I like about them is they help. They're like an x-ray into a company. They show the weaknesses that we didn't see under normal markets. So we found one that was weak that just we no longer want to play with at this point. So we took that off our buy list and put two others on. So I think that a lot of people are glad to hear that because they've been looking for some new things. And right now we're doing some deep dives into, I know some people aren't going to like this, but into some REITs. The possibility of what's going on with REITs has made it possibly some blue light specials. We'll see, possibly by next week. Good stuff. Mark, I do hope everyone listening will join us for our conference call. Mark had mentioned, folks, this Thursday conference call, mark your calendars. You'll get a alert soon for it. Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern time. So that's 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Pacific time. Mark your calendars this Thursday. This Thursday is going to be a real good time. I hope that you all will join us. If you're not a partner, of course, that's one of the benefits that we offer to our partners is those monthly conference calls where we get to just dive in a little bit deeper and hear Mark's wisdom. Looking forward to that one, Mark. It's going to be a fun one. Okay, Mark. So let's prepare for liftoff here, shall we? So SpaceX is looking to go public here. We actually got a question about this. William, who's 63, he is a partner, and he said, I'm sure you may have already answered this. If so, send me a link to the podcast. We'll make sure to take care of that, William. But what should we think about the upcoming IPO for SpaceX? So, Mark, just some quick facts here, and then I'll just let you, take this and run with it. So SpaceX has reportedly filed confidential paperwork, putting it on the path to list shares by July of this year. I even saw possibly June of this year. Looking to raise $40 billion to $80 billion for this. Since 2017, this is according to Investopedia, any company pursuing an IPO could file its registration paperwork with the SEC confidentially, submitting what's called a draft registration statement. Regulators then review the documents. They send back comments requesting additional disclosures before it goes to public. So, Mark, what do you think about this?
Well, it is exciting, isn't it?
Yeah.
we can't deny that. But I don't know if that's really why you invest in something, just because it's exciting. Yeah. We got to be very careful about it. We've seen a lot of big things come out. It will be probably the largest IPO in history. And one of the neat things I like about it is Elon Musk has decided to let, I think, about 20% of the stock of the value of the company be offered to the public. Usually it's nowhere near that. Usually it's below 10% of what a company issues to the public to raise funds. This is going to be 20%. And I think that's Elon's way of just honoring all those people who have stuck behind him all these years when so many people tried to tear him down, with Tesla and all his other companies. I think he's just giving everybody a chance to get in. Would I buy it right off the bat? Well, let's look at it from a perspective. We really don't know all the numbers yet. We haven't seen what's going on with the company, how much money it really is making. If it's making any money, we don't even know that. and the possibility. First of all, there's money to be made in space, and it's from the government primarily. But then also SpaceX makes money off of launching its own satellites, and its satellites are, I believe, it's not just the launch. It's just not the rocket industry that he's in on it. It's also with the internet, and there are billions of dollars being made on that. So him bringing internet to the world, satellite internet. So that's there. There's a lot of things in it. So I'm going to be cautious on jumping in. I would love to jump in right away, but this seems to hit me like there's so much hype behind it that it might just end up jumping through the ceiling and then pulling back like so many other stocks have done. Join us, 610-363-1110.
My wife and I, we moved into this neighborhood. We had some experience with Crossroads Kids Club. We had served at another club. We kind of thought to ourselves, like, it would be really, really cool for us to actually bring in a club that was able to share the love of Jesus with kids directly into the school. And so we started our Crossroads at Hilltop.
Crossroads is amazing. You can learn all kinds of things about God. That He loves all of us. He died on the cross to pay for our sins. That He will help me in every way.
There is just such tremendous opportunity to reach kids in some of these areas that just aren't being reached.
Sometimes I pray every night. When I feel alone sometimes, God is right there sitting next to me. I can rely on Him no matter what happens.
Help reach kids with the hope of the gospel. Visit reachOurschools.com.
Investing is about so much more than money. It's a way we can provide a better future for our loved ones and make a greater impact for the things that matter most to us. Good stewardship is investing in things that last for eternity and not things that go against biblical values. For over 25 years, Financial Issues has provided partners with the tools they need to build a portfolio that honors God and blesses others. Become a partner with Financial Issues today to see how you can steward your resources in a God-honoring way.
If a woman sees her baby on ultrasound, it doubles the likelihood that she'll choose life. On top of that, we share the gospel of Jesus Christ with her. This is why you should support preborn.
Then they sat me down. If you were to die today, do you think you would go to heaven? And I was like, no. Keeping the child was my first stepping stone. And ever since then, God has cleaned me up from the inside out.
Help support women in need. Go to preborn.com/FISM.
You know, folks, as we're talking about IPOs and the excitement of, kind of investing with vibes or getting on the excitement train, all that stuff, it reminds me, Mark, of how grateful I am for one of our key sponsors, which of course is the Timothy Plan. You talk about good, solid, long-term investing. Timothy Plan is the way to go. So grateful to be partnered with them. So check them out.
Yeah, amen to that.
Yeah, check them out at timothyplan.com. Mark, back on to our conversation here with SpaceX. It is interesting. It is exciting to me. But like you said, there are maybe perhaps some things that we need to be cautious of here. And I think one of them for me, honestly, is like you said, it could be a record high for a valuation of an IPO. SpaceX would start as a large cap stock. If this is true, it might even be higher than that. I don't know what their exact valuation is, but if they're raising at least 40 to 80 billion, does this say anything about SpaceX's strength if they're starting so high? I mean, it's one thing to be valued so high, but can they grow higher? Can they ascend to the moon, as it were? Sorry, the space jokes will never get
actually to Mars.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry, I miscalculated slightly. Yeah, the Mars.
Yeah, Seth, that's a good question, and it's often confusing to people. When a company goes public, it has nothing to do with the size of it. It's at a time when they decide that they want to raise capital differently than they had before. They want to use public monies and allow other people to invest in it instead of just private money, their own or their cronies or people. A good example of this is to look at the early days of IT, when Silicon Valley, it was always the same groups of private money investing in all the different things, the Buffetts, and whatnot, investing in Microsoft and Apple and all these and getting them off the ground. And then they go public. And then all those people make money. Like I said, usually it's way below 10% of what they offer to the public to buy into when they go public of what the company's worth. They put that up for sale on the market and they let it go public. So the size really doesn't matter. You can have a company that may not even be up and running yet, that they wouldn't make it on the major exchanges because you have to be a certain size and have profits for so long and stuff like that. But they could go to a market, but not the major markets to do that. The thing I really want to stress, though, is, I said this is exciting, and I really believe it is. Elon Musk has been an incredible force in the business world ever since he started his first company, ever since he got behind PayPal and made that happen. There's just been one company after another that he's helped build and grow and make one of the bigger companies in the world, from Tesla to PayPal to SpaceX to just all sorts of things. So he is a very impressive gentleman, and it is exciting when he does something like this. But the real question is it investable? And does it align with our strategy? And right now, there's no public ticker. There's no financial transparency yet. And there's no way for any individual investor to truly participate directly. So we have to be very careful. And think about this. Tesla, we had to sell Tesla because somebody in Tesla decided it was a good idea to be able to pay for the transportation for people to do transgender surgeries, and then brag about it on their website, on Tesla's website. Quite frankly, I think Elon Musk would have a heart attack if he knew about this. And even though we filled out the petition, and even though Tesla got the petition, I'm not sure if Elon's ever seen that. I think if he saw it, it would end immediately. Because first of all, he doesn't like to waste money. And secondly, he seems to have a compass in him. Whether he's a believer yet or not, I'm not sure, but he's awfully close. So, but we don't know if SpaceX is going to come out clean or not. So if we bought it when it lists and we're in it for a few days, and then the first quarter, we finally get transparency. We get the numbers we need. We get all the information we need. We can see the benefits. We can see all the things that evaluator will look at. That'll tell us then whether we should be getting in or not. So, yeah, could we miss a great opportunity by not jumping in right away? Yes, we could. And it's equally, we could miss a great opportunity not to be taken to the cleaners as well.
Well said, brother. Mark, anytime we see an IPO, especially one that has some excitement around it because of a public figure or anything like that, I always go back to our parable of IPOs that we saw last year with Newsmax. Newsmax spiked up, and then it has just gone down ever since. And it's now basically a penny stock. I mean, it's a couple bucks more than that. But I'm not saying that always happens with IPOs.
Didn't that happen with Truth Social?
I think it did too. I think Truth Social was, there. And there's another one that in the conservative community had a lot of excitement about it because of the figure behind it, but might not be the strongest company. So, Yeah, Mark, it's really well said. And I think most importantly, like you said, we have no data if SpaceX will be biblically responsible or not. And
that's right.
If we're unsure about it, it's a clear no right now.
Let's wait on the Lord for that.
Absolutely. Well said. Mark, I appreciate that a lot. Hey, let's get to a question from another Mark, actually. This is a Mark who's a partner, and he's saying, hey, Mark, this is confusing. There's a lot of Marks going around here. He says, what is the limit you can make to be able to invest in a Roth IRA? I'm told my AGI is too high. I never knew there was a limit. So, Mark, this is kind of sort of a question that touches on sort of the ins and outs of the Roth IRA, but particularly for someone who is punished because they make too much money. What do you make of this, Mark? How would you help this Mark who's asking this question?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'd give him the numbers so that he knows for certain. I think you have those.
I do. Yeah, Mark. Let me just find these notes here really quick.
Yeah.
But I believe it's right around the range of, if you're married filing
like
jointly,
married. Okay.
That's more up in the 250 to 260,000. If you're a single filer, I believe it's 168,000. So yeah, that's kind of your cap right there.
So you're making a decent income, and I can understand how you feel left out just because you feel like you worked hard, you did something, and why are you being penalized for it by not allowing to invest in a Roth IRA? It's just if we look at it from the other direction, let's turn it around. I'm not trying to make excuses for some of the dumb stuff our government does. Yeah. But if you start with everybody's equal and everybody needs to pay, help support this country and all that kind of stuff, and assuming everything's going to go for good things and blah, blah, blah. But if we look at it from that, the Roth came in as a benefit. And that benefit was to help middle and lower class, or lower income individuals to get a step ahead, where people who are making gobs of money really didn't need that helping hand. That was the thought behind it, I believe, originally. Yeah. But now we look at it as like, well, this isn't fair. We're treating everybody differently. I get it. But let's just be real about it and say, this is the way it is. If you make over a certain amount, you don't get to participate in the Roth or the contribution to Roth. There is a backdoor for you if you want to do it. And that means you can contribute to an IRA, and you don't get to deduct it because the phase out is still the same for the IRA. So you don't get to deduct it. And you say, well, why would I give to an IRA if I don't get to deduct it? Well, then you can convert it to a Roth. And I believe that's what they call a backdoor IRA.
It is. Yep.
So you could do that if you wanted to. You also could invest in a way that minimizes your taxes in a regular account. Capital gains are substantially less than regular income tax. So if you go for long-term capital gains, you're a buy and hold type of person in good, solid stocks that have good, strong fundamentals and great potential. Sounds like a good idea for a way to invest, doesn't it, Seth?
It really does.
If you do that, you wouldn't have a lot of taxes along the way, and then your taxes would be significantly less because you'd be paying long-term capital gains instead of income tax on it. Yeah. So you could do that as well. So I would just look at it as this is how it is, and do the best you can with it. And praise God that he's put you in a position where you have such an income that that you don't get to benefit from the same thing those people who are striving to get to where you are get to participate in.
Mark, I'm glad you said it that way, because I got to tell you, my first thought when reading this question was feeling, frustration on behalf of the Mark who asked this question. Even though I'm not I have a Roth IRA, I'm benefiting from it. My income is not at the level where I am asking the questions of, okay, am I phasing out of this? Do I need to do the backdoor Roth? But when I saw this, my first thought was, that's socialist. They're punishing the rich.
It feels like that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I think all these things may start off good with good intention, and then it does become socialist. It does become penalties. It does become, because then it's the Congress starts using it to manipulate everybody and everything. Yeah. And by the way, Mark, I'd really like to give you a warning. If you already have a traditional IRA that is pre-tax, meaning you were able to deduct it, you have a situation there where when you contribute to your new IRA and it's not pre-tax, when you go to convert it, it takes into effect all your IRA. So if you have 90% pre-tax and 10% post-tax, you're still going to owe tax. You're going to have to pay taxes on 90% of it that goes into the Roth. So you got to be careful there. If you don't already have a traditional IRA, you can contribute to it post-tax because you have too much money and you're phased out from getting the deduction, and then you wouldn't have to pay any tax on that when you convert it. Just there's some gotchas in there. You want to do it right. If you want more information, just email us on that. We'll send you out a little one-pager on it.
Absolutely. And Mark, the final thing, and this is for this is for the Mark who asked this question, but as Mark Manila said, praise God for the income that you have. Mark, as we know, taxes are to be expected in this life. I wish they weren't. I wish you didn't have to deal with taxes, but taxes are, death and taxes are the only two guarantees, right? And for Christians,
right.
eternal life.
What's that Bible verse? Pay unto the swamp.
Yeah, right.
Yes. No, wait.
That's render unto Caesar, right?
Render unto the swamp. What is the swamps?
Unto what is the swamps? So, but Mark, part of that reality is that the more money you make, generally, the more taxes are paid. It's a good thing because you made a lot. But that's part of it, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and there are strategies to help minimize that. You could spend all your days doing it, too.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with being efficient with your taxes. It's not avoiding taxes. It's only paying what you're required to by structuring things properly. And you may have a question about the Backdoor Roth, or you might have other questions, 610-363-1110. I'd really love to hear from you personally, see what you're thinking, see what's on your mind, and answer your financial questions. We'll be right back.
As a member of Samaritan Ministries, your monthly share is a gift that goes directly to a real person in need. While that share takes care of the financial portion of a need, medical needs are complex and include the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects as well. While the financial gift is important, if we
Did you know that an unborn baby's heart beats at an average of 120 times every minute? That steady rhythm, that precious sound, that's the sound of life. Preborn partners with local pregnancy clinics across the nation to help mothers choose life, providing free ultrasounds, counseling, and the gospel of Jesus Christ. When an abortion-minded mother hears that sound, 80% of the time, they choose life. For $28, you can sponsor a life-saving ultrasound and share the hope of the gospel with a mother facing an unplanned pregnancy. Hi, I'm Mark Manella, host of Financial Issues, and today I want to encourage you to give to the amazing work of Preborn. To give, just dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 baby.
You're careful about what you bring home when shopping, especially when it comes to feeding your family. Shouldn't your investments work the same way? At Timothy Plan, we offer a wide selection of mutual funds and ETFs that can help you allocate assets without compromising your values. From technology to healthcare, energy to real estate, our funds are not only diverse but uncompromising to your values. Timothy Plan funds are filtered to avoid companies involved in abortion, pornography, human trafficking, and other harmful agendas. What you invest in should reflect what you stand for. Are your investments bearing good fruit? What's in your portfolio? Contact your financial advisor today to find out, or contact Timothy Plan directly at 1-800-TIM-PLAN to discover more. Before investing, carefully consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the investment company. This and other important information can be found in the fund's prospectus. To obtain a copy, visit timothyplan.com or call 800-846-7526. Read each prospectus carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
610-363-1110. Give us a call, folks. We would be delighted to hear from you. Mark, there's some interesting things happening that we need to be aware of here. And here we go. We're jumping right into it, brother. So it looks like yesterday we saw a report that BNY, that's the Bank of New York, and Robinhood, fun Robinhood that always seems to find its way into the news. They have been tasked with designing the new Trump Accounts app. So the U.S. Department of Treasury said that BNY is going to be the designated agent for the accounts, and they're going to partner with Robinhood to develop the Trump Accounts app. As of March 31st, taxpayers have signed up for more than 4 million children for Trump accounts. More than 1 million were eligible for the Treasury's $1,000 pilot program contribution as well, according to the IRS. So, Mark, this is a little concerning to me simply because of Robinhood's reputation. They tend to conflate investing with gambling. And unfortunately, a lot of the confusion that people have comes from platforms like this that tend to treat both of them as the same thing. I'm concerned that they're going to try to do the same thing with the Trump accounts in making the app almost more of a prediction markets app. But what are your thoughts, Mark?
I don't know about that. You can be a slimy company.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not the best way to describe it. I mean, Robinhood does some good secular stuff. They give good information.
Yeah.
But they have helped make investing more a trading game than and help it lean more toward gambling and day trading than investing. So that bothers me. And then they brought on the predictions market. I believe they launched their own predictions market, didn't they?
They did. Robinhood did. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So there's things we don't like about them, but one thing they do well is technology. So it's so we could say, yeah, it's ugly this, but it's like George Whitfield. Partnering up with Benjamin Franklin. Think about that. We have a deist at best partnering with somebody who is a devout Christian to get the word out about God and the awakening that is happening in America. So Benjamin Franklin may not have been a Christian, at least in his early life or most of his life, but he did help to get the word out, and he did like what George Whitfield was doing. He also liked the money that it brought in for him by publishing his stuff. But they could work together for a common cause of good.
Yeah.
So effectively, that's what we're seeing here with Robinhood. Is the technology is there for people. They can develop the technology for the government to be able to open these accounts at Bank of New York. That's all that's happening here. Would I love to see it go to a great Christian mega corporation that does internet? Can't think of any. Maybe that's the issue.
Right. There you go.
Sorry.
That makes sense, Mark. No, that's
sarcasm has snuck in again.
Well, Mark, it is helpful. Once again, I see something like this and I think, okay, this is troubling. But like you said, maybe there's some shrewd partnership that needs to happen in order for the word to get out about these things. Speaking of the word to get out, brother, we are trying our very best to get the word out to the Trump administration that the way that the Trump accounts are right now does not align with Christian investing values, particularly biblically responsible investing. And that's why we have this Trump account. Folks, if you have not signed our Trump account petition, you got to sign it right now. I'll drop it in the chat for you in case you haven't signed it. But the link is trumpaccountsforall.com. Trumpaccountsforall.com. Hopefully, folks are going to sign that, Mark.
And if you have signed it, go out to trumpaccountsforall.com and send a link forward to all your friends, neighbor, relatives. When you're at church, make sure everybody at church knows about it. When you're at the barbecue, make sure everybody at the barbecue knows about it. This is important. A lot of people think, well, this will just help us to be able to invest in something and not have to compromise. It's more than that. When we invest in companies that promote or profit from abortion, pornography, sexual immorality, or any of the things that are destroying our nation right now, we are actually contributing to the destruction of our nation. Mm-hmm. When we start investing in only those things that at very least are neutral on those items, we will see a turnaround in this country. We've seen this impact happen, and it can happen more and more. Let's make sure that we lock in the ability for Christians to have their influence in the stock market and what Wall Street does with our dividends instead of giving them to us by only investing in those companies who won't advertise on radio and television and movies and produce these kind of things that give a message that sexual immorality is the norm and you're weird if you don't join in. Doing all the weird stuff of the sexual immorality, abortion should be common. All these different things that they have brainwashed us with through the media, that comes from the top of Wall Street, the big corporations, the companies, and what they do with their money. We need to stop it in the Trump accounts right now, because the Trump accounts are going to be for generations to come.
Yeah. Well said, brother. TrumpAccountsForAll.com. TrumpAccountsForAll.com. And folks, while you're at it, give us a call. 610-363-1110. We'd love to talk to you. Mark, let's switch gears just a little bit here. We've got a couple good questions that came in on the chat, and I think it's worth it to address some of these here right now. So we have Daryl from Texas. Daryl, so faithful, still able to ask this question, even though he's not able to call in right now. But he asked this: for a backdoor Roth, Mark, are we able to open a separate IRA for non-deductible contributions outside of the pre-tax IRA that we already have?
Well, yes, you could. That would help you to simplify the calculations. And when I say calculations, flags should be going up, because when you do a backdoor Roth, it doesn't matter if they're separated or not. What's going to happen is you have to calculate how much of that is of your IRAs are pre-tax and how much are post-tax. When you do that, and that determines when you do the conversion, what percent of the conversion has to be paid tax on and what percentage doesn't. So effectively, it doesn't matter if you open up separate accounts for pre-tax and post-tax to do the backdoor, you still have to calculate your total IRA contributions, pre-tax and post-tax, to determine what portion will be what portion would be taxed. For example, if you already have an IRA and it's got $90,000 in it, and it was all pre-tax, and now you started a post-tax and you have $10,000 in it, all this for ease of math calculations, 10% of your money won't be taxed if you converted. If you just converted $1,000, 10% of that wouldn't be taxed, and 90% would be taxed, because you have 90% of your personal IRA money in pre-tax and only 10% in post-tax. So there are some ways to do this. There's a strategy where you could, if you're still working and your 401k allows this, you could move your IRA pre-tax money into your 401k. Then it wouldn't be in the calculation anymore. But your 401k has to allow that. It's a reverse transfer. I forget exactly what it's called, but it's a reverse transfer. Usually you're transferring out into an IRA instead of transferring your IRA into a 401k. Not all 401ks allowed that. The older ones didn't, but a lot of the newer ones do. So that might be a way to get them out of the way. So step one would be find out if your company has a 401k that allows you to transfer IRA, pre-tax IRA money into it. If they do, you could move it into that 401k. And then you could create your post-tax IRA and start contributing to that. And then when you do a conversion, if you convert that, it would be 100% not taxable to convert it.
Daryl, it's a great question, brother. We appreciate it so much. Mark, we've got,
Did I go in the weeds too much on that?
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I guess that's very helpful. Mark, just a quick follow-up for Daryl. I assume he would, with the 401k aspect of it, just talk to your human resources person at your company and kind of get to the bottom to see what you're allowed to do with that 401k.
Yeah.
Good. Mark, we got really just a comment here from Doug. He's 70. He said, I hope this helps others, actually. It was a follow-up to a question that I asked a couple weeks ago. I found on my investment platform, I use Fidelity, there's a tax activity page. One enters in their search window tax information. Once you're on this page, you can pick the choice tax activity for the current year. And so I can go there and find the accumulated tax information for my current year. It makes income tax planning and management way easier. It only shows non-tax deferred accounts. Doug, that's great stuff there, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, that is really good stuff. Appreciate when people follow up on the different platforms that they're using. That helps all our listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Mark, it is a good reminder, too, I think, just for anyone who's wondering, we don't recommend any one particular platform, but we would give you several indicators to consider whatever platform you might use. Make sure it's user-friendly. Make sure it's got good customer service. That goes without saying, obviously, Mark.
Yes.
But also make sure it's trustworthy and of good repute. I would probably pick one like Fidelity over maybe an unknown brokerage platform simply because I know it, So, Mark, are there any other insights for picking a good brokerage platform?
You have to be comfortable. I like to make sure the research is really good.
Yeah.
That you have in-depth research and you also have simple research.
Yep.
Both sides of it, charting. And most of the platforms today, they all have that. The hard thing to find is good customer service.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say, Mark, maybe one more even too is just making sure that when you pick a brokerage platform, finding out that you have a wide array of investment options, that they don't, for example, prevent you from investing in the Timothy plan, which we've heard stories about.
Yeah,
before.
good catch there.
Yep,
Absolutely.
Yep, absolutely.
You want to make sure you can invest with biblical integrity. Yeah. And you also want to make sure you have this number, 610-363-1110. We'd love to hear from you. Give us a call. Join the conversation. We've had some great emails come in. We had some great chat questions. Now let's get some live questions. Give us a call.
My name is Reagan Gardner, and I am in the 4th grade. Last year, I wanted to be like everybody else. I thought I had to act different, look different, and be different to be cool. When I joined Crossroads, I learned that God loves me just the way that I am.
Help reach more kids like Reagan with the hope of the gospel. To learn more about Crossroads Kids Club and how you can get involved, visit reachOurschools.com.
In the last 10 to 15 years being in ministry, being married, something that has been constant in our lives is Samaritan Ministries. As we've moved, we've had babies, we've had different things come up, we have just been able to rely on Samaritan in ways that we never really even thought about before becoming members.
Our heart's desire is to plant roots and be in a place for a really long time. It's how we were raised. We see the benefits of that, but we also see the open-handedness of being used by the Lord wherever He calls, because we just assumed when we started pursuing church planting, the quickest way to get from point A to point B is a straight line. And with the Lord, sometimes you find out it looks a lot more like this. And yet, Samaritan was with us through the entire thing.
We didn't have to look into, we have to change insurances now because we've moved states or whatever the case may be. And it's just been a real blessing to us in different phases of life.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Colleen.
And we're the Gen X.
And we're Samaritan members.
Preborn is making motherhood possible for thousands of moms across America.
I found out that I was pregnant. My family, they were like, no, you're not having this baby. I met Miss Linda. She offered to get me an ultrasound. That's where I very first heard the heartbeat. It was really a great thing that I was led to the choice to keep him.
To find out how you can support the life-saving mission of Preborn, go to preborn.com/FISM.
The opinions and recommendations expressed on this program do not necessarily represent the opinions of the station or any of the program sponsors. Additionally, all products or services offered by the program sponsors may not be known by the program.
We got time to get you in, folks. Give us a call at 610-363-1110. Mark, Wall Street's open now, so might as well take a peek. See what's going on there.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? Everything is, slightly down. Nothing to sneeze at, but Dow Jones and the S&P each down about 2/3. NASDAQ down about 3/4, maybe 4/5 or so, and the Russell 2000 is down about 1/3 this morning. So that's what we're seeing now on Wall Street. 610-363-1110. Mark, we're getting a call in from Maynard in Ohio.
Well, let's go to Maynard. Maynard, welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning, Mark and Seth.
Good morning.
We just did our taxes, and so I'm looking at our investment portfolio that has dividend-paying stocks mostly. I've kind of set it up as an income portfolio, and so we're we're above the tax brackets where the qualified dividends are free, but they're still at a lower rate than the cash dividends. And so I'm looking at, I went through and made a list of the stocks and ETFs that I have that pay a cash dividend as opposed to a qualified dividend. And I'm considering selling what I have that pay a cash dividend to purchase things that pay a qualified dividend because of the tax difference. And so can you explain what makes a company pay a qualified dividend as opposed to just a cash dividend?
Yeah. Well, cash dividend is how a dividend is paid. It really doesn't have anything to do with the tax law. And that's qualified dividend is a special classification of a cash dividend is what it really comes down to. It just has, you get a tax advantage on it. So, cash dividend is a payment method, not a tax implication. The qualified says, well, this dividend, which almost is a cash dividend instead of a stock dividend or something like that, has a special, qualified has a special tax to it. So you can save a little bit of money on there. Like you said, taxed at a lower capital gains rate, maybe 0, 15 or 20%. But, it's got to meet the qualifications. It's got to be either a U.S. company or a qualified foreign company. And you got to hold the stock long enough to typically 60 days or more to be able to get that tax benefit for it. So, I think the holding period and it being a U.S. stock primarily are the two things to help you get that tax advantage. I don't think I would limit myself. I don't know if there's enough tax-qualified dividends to make it worthwhile that I would want to base my whole growth portfolio on, growth and income portfolio on whether the dividend is tax qualified or not. If you can find them and they're good paying, remember, do the calculation. Whatever your marginal tax bracket is, you want to divide the dividend by that of another stock, a similar stock. And if the qualified dividend is after you take off the taxes for it is still lower, why do it? Just be careful with it is what I'm saying. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess, and it's not a huge amount, but it's hundreds of dollars in taxable income that I just looking at that, I thought, is there any way to tell if a company, if their dividend is paid as a qualified.
Yeah, they list it as qualified. They usually don't list it as qualified. I've never seen, a dividend can be cash and qualified, or it could be cash and non-qualified, which is ordinary income. So usually if a company has a dividend, they will tell you on most of the financial sites whether it is a qualified or not. It's listed out there.
The Timothy ETFs, which we have in our portfolio, and in a Roth or an IRA, it doesn't matter because it's the taxable consequences taking the money out. But for an investment account, all of the ETFs that we have, the Timothy ETFs, they're not paid as a qualified dividend, and I don't know if there's a. Do you understand what's the reasoning for that? We've had them for years. Remember, so it's not a matter of time held.
Yeah, remember that the ETF is not a stock. It is a bucket. It's a fund, and a fund is made up of many, many different corporations. So as an ETF, when they disperse that, if there was qualified dividends in it, they tell you what percentage of that dividend would be qualified on when you get into the year, the 1099 DIV that you would get from the ETF.
Yeah, okay. Well, that was just...
It's a little bit frustrating, isn't it, Maynard?
Well,
and taxes do that to us. They wear us down, and that's the problem with our tax law. That's why we got to get good people in Congress, because this is not on accident that our tax laws are so complicated and created a whole industry for accountants and tax preparers. It shouldn't be that difficult. I do believe, as a citizen of this country, I want to help this country grow. I want infrastructure. I want to help those who tried and failed. So I don't mind paying some tax, but it should be simple. It should be easy. And it never is. They complicated it so that they could get as much as they can out of it. And, only those who have gobs of bucks. I mean, I've known people who spend more money on trying to avoid paying taxes than the taxes would have cost, So it's just they get so irritated with the government, Maynard. But don't get frustrated. Be a good steward. Keep your nose to the grindstone. Find those qualified dividend-paying stocks and, make sure they're biblically responsible. And continue forward. It's not a bad idea. I've never heard of anybody ever do a portfolio of strictly qualified dividends. I think that would be very interesting to see that happen. If you do that, let me know.
I will. I'll just keep watching. And this is something that maybe it's a ridiculous idea, but just trying to look at ways to minimize our taxes. And,
I don't think it's ridiculous at all.
Maynard, it sounds like common sense to me.
Yeah. If you can. And maybe a way to look at it, a different perspective, if you will. What if you just said, I am in a growth income portfolio. I want dividends, if possible, that are qualified. That's a bonus on top of it being dividends and a growth stock. And then it's qualified on top of that. That's just like I talk about having money beyond our needs as froth. That's just froth on the cake, on the cup, Take it like that and have a good attitude about God bless you with some qualified dividends.
And that's true. I do see what we have as God's. It's the Lord's, and I'm the steward that He has given to. I'm just trying to be a good steward.
And you are doing
a great job, man.
God bless you. And have you signed the Trump account yet for kids petition?
Oh, yeah, I did that as soon as you guys put it up. I did, yeah.
God bless you. Pass on. Job. Thank you. God bless you.
And I thank you for doing that. I mean, I understand why they've chosen that. The S&P index is something that
makes it simple,
easy. It will do well, and I've invested in things in the past that have not done well, and so had I done that, I would have been farther ahead. But anyway, the idea that to have an option that is biblically based, that doesn't grieve God's heart, that's the most important thing to me in the world.
Amen to that.
Well said, brother.
Is to please God for what He's done for us. I mean, we are so. We're blessed in every way.
Amen and amen to that. And just a little to one step further. I mentioned earlier I'm doing some research on REITs and BDCs and stuff right now because they're in a peculiar place where many of them actually their value for what they hold, like some of the real estate REITs, is worth more than what the price of the REIT is. Now, I'm also looking to see if these are qualified or non-qualified dividends, because usually REITs and BDCs are the ones that tend to produce a lot of investments that are non-qualified. But if we could find some that were qualified, even better. So stay tuned. In the next week or so, we're going to have some announcements on that research.
Great stuff. Mark, it's a great question that Maynard was asking. I feel his frustration, but also sense he is desiring to honor the Lord with everything that he's been given. And man, it's so frustrating the way the tax system is built, because it does force it's purposefully confusing to trip us up. And Mark, you're exactly right. We just got to elect people who are going to honor God and who are going to honor the people that they're supposed to serve, which is us.
Amen.
So well said. Boy, I wish we could have time to get to some more here, brother, but The end of the show
I think we're going to be able to get to anybody else. It wouldn't be fair to bring them in with less than a minute left for the show. We just introduce them and get them on. And so get the dialing finger warmed up for tomorrow. Again, here, just write it down, 610-363-1110. If you're going to email us questions, email them in early so we can get them in. If you're going to call, well, you can start calling about 5 till 9. We open the lines about 5 minutes before 9 Eastern time, and you can get involved. We've had such good questions today that it's sad kind of to leave with Maynard and all the rest. We appreciate it. It's just we appreciate people who love God, and we appreciate people who invest with biblical integrity. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for loving God, and thank you for being with you. We'll see you tomorrow.
If we ever forget that we're one nation under God, then we will be a nation gone under.
Thank you for joining us. This has been an FISM production.